Do you know what Rivali's, like, sweeping move reminds me of every time I did do it?
No, what?
That part in Kingdom Hearts 2 where there's just, like, a mob of Heartless and you have to just triangle mash
Oh,
until
yeah, the
Sephiroth
Thousand
shows
Heartless
up?
battle. Yeah, where just, like, Sora has the lasers, he's like, yeah, that's such a good point. It's basically the same thing. Um,
Except Sephiroth didn't show up at the end.
Except, yeah, God, if Sephiroth had shown up at the end of Age of Calamity, I would have liked that more. Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm a petty bird.
And this week, we talk about the kind of prequel to Breath of the Wild before the sequel comes out. Before we hunker down and eat rocks to be polite, remember you can help us on Mortified the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter at MortifiedPod. Leyla, we played Age of Calamity, Hyrule Warriors, this week. Well, we sort of played it. For reference, I played about 60% of it, and we'll talk about why I didn't finish here in a bit. But Leyla, my understanding is you did play all the way through?
I played all the way through in one big marathon couch-bound break.
Wow.
When I was not working for a week. 2 weeks, rather.
I mean, that's good. I'm glad that you were able to get at least a little break from your very hectic schedule. But yeah, this is, here's the thing. Let's talk about the kind of game that it is real quick. So, I don't know the actual style, but it's in the vein of a Dynasty Warriors, which is like basically you get to control like a super powerful, like one, like singular character, and basically you're like cutting through like hundreds, if not thousands, of like individual weak enemies. Um, and that's sort of it's just set in the Legend of Zelda universe, like 100 years before Breath of the Wild, like right as Calamity Ganon's coming back. Um, and it's interesting because it does make some changes to the Breath of the Wild canon. And I think we should talk about all these changes, but yeah, Layla, how do you feel about those changes?
Well, so first of all, the technical name for those kind of games is a Muso game.
Okay.
Is the Hyrule Warriors sort of archetype. So there's a couple of things in terms. There's a couple of things in terms of changing the canon that kind of bothered me, but I think my prediction at the beginning of this game, when I saw that cute little egg do a time travel, I was just like, this is going to split into a new fucking timeline. And lo and behold, I was 1000% correct, but we got there in a way I could have never anticipated once in my entire life. I could not have guessed how we were going to get there if I tried. The things that bothered me, there weren't a lot, because I was just kind of playing it for cutscenes of Link being cute, because I love him very much. He's dear to me. And I got that. I got that in spades in Acts 1 and 2. My, biggest beef, honestly, was that Zelda wasn't mean enough.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Okay, because in Breath of the Wild, I mean, are you ready for my why a Muso game was, a weird choice rant?
Okay, yeah, no, let's hear it.
Okay, cool. Listeners, I hope I'm your favorite one, because I'm about to take you on a ride for a little bit. So, Breath of the Wild is a love letter to the environment, right? So you wake up, you're Link, you're a fancy little amnesiac, there's a lady's voice, and you're like, fuck, I gotta save the world. It's a really great entry into a really old franchise, a 30-year-old franchise at that point. Especially for people who have never played a Zelda game before, like me. I've never played a Zelda game before. Not for lack of trying, the old ones make me really motion sick, so I can't do it. And it's open world, but it's a motivated open world, right? So like you have an open world and you can do as much or as little as you want, and you are motivated by the fact that all of the mechanics are integral to your survival within the world. Cooking is integral to your survival within the world. Fighting and finding weapons, finding armor, doing quests, the towers, they're all integral to your survival and your success, and in making the final confrontation with Calamity Ganon easier. The other thing is that the open world format and the way it presents plot points to you, because if you try to summarize Breath of the Wild, it's like a really bare bones plot, right? You wake up, you gotta go beat Ganon, save Zelda, boom, done. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The way it entices you to get deeper into the story is by saying, hey, here's the Sheikah Slate, your glorified, lore-friendly DS thing that you can use as a map. And it has some fragments of memory in it, and you go and you explore and you find these fragments of memory, and there's no specific order in which you find them. Like, if you're lucky, you will just, like, remember that something, like, you saw Hyrule Castle from a similar angle from within your Sheikah Slate, and like, oh, maybe there's, like, a memory around here, or you just, like, run into one. And within these memories, because you are more than likely to find them out of order, you kind of get to see Zelda and Link's relationship develop in an arc, right? So you could find one where she's crying into his arms and it's really sad. You could find one where she does not want to acknowledge he exists because he, to her, is a symbol of her failure. So, because, you know, he's like the chosen warrior and he has like a purpose, and she's, in her eyes, fumbling because the thing she's really good at is the thing she's being pushed away from. And even when you go into, one of my favorite moments in Breath of the Wild is finding Zelda's study in Hyrule Castle. It's a really nice musical moment. You know, the music changes from outdoor to indoor. You get like a softer theme. It feels nostalgic for a thing you've never experienced, which is so hard to do. And it's so cool and so magical. And you can read Zelda's diary. And in the diary, you can like literally follow the progression. Like, God, like if you missed all the memories, or even if you just want more information, you could see her go from fuck this guy. Holy shit, my dad is punishing me with this stupid elf who will not talk to me. It's just slowly like, oh, no matter how mean I am to him, no matter how much I push him away, he still has my back. He still saves me. He still listens to me. And it gets to the point of like, wow, I actually got him to open up to me. I feel a lot closer to him. I feel like we're more of a team, right? So there's like that progression. In Calamity Warriors, or I call it Calamity Warriors all the time. Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity. I'm going to keep calling it Calamity Warriors, so don't fucking come for me. That incentive to explore is gone, right? Because you have a set course. And in fact, I was disincentivized from exploring a lot because it's a Musou game, right? So you go in and you have to like strategize and buckle down, and you have to like get your enemies, and while you're fighting one enemy, there's a Hylian captain that's like, help, and you're like, I can't. All of my characters are far away from you. Go fuck yourself. And when you send a character to a certain area, it's not like they start fighting that battle for you. They're just there. You know, so you as the player still have like a timer on you. It's a very high pressure thing. So in the cutscenes that we do get in Acts 1 and 2, we'll talk about Act 3 a little bit later because it went off the rails. But in Acts 1 and 2, Zelda always kind of likes Link. She always at least a little bit likes Link. There's a moment, there's a really sweet moment between them where he like is getting attacked by the little egg guardian that they have because he stole the guardian's like glory in saving Zelda, and the little guardian sees him as competition to be Zelda's knight, which I thought was like funny. I really liked that. But there's like a sweet moment where he's like trying not to get accosted by this egg, and like him and Zelda like exchange eye contact. It's super sweet, but it felt weird to me knowing the context from Breath of the Wild, because I was like, she should still kind of dislike him at this point. Like, it takes a while for her to kind of come around to him. And even in the beginning, she's like, oh, it's Link, you know, he's so capable and so, like, powerful. And of course, like her little, whenever you beat, like, a stage, there's, like, a little dialogue line of, like, of course you did it, or whatever, depending on what character you're playing and who's responding. All of hers are always, like, of course, you're so, I think for her both, it's, like, you're so dependable, but for Link, it's, like, I knew I could rely on you or something, but it's, like, no, that should change. She shouldn't have anything to say to you in the beginning because she doesn't like you. So I was missing. She felt like too sad and soft rather than kind of like the frustrated academic that we got in Breath of the Wild. And I think the mechanics were very much part of that because we were no longer seeing this like confusing jumble of a Calamity through Link's very distorted point of view, right? Like we didn't have Link like struggling to make it like he had a very obvious goal, which is take that red thing in the castle and kill it. But the way to get there, like you have a billion choices and all of them are interesting and fun and you can take as much or as little as you want. Hyrule Warriors, which I'm going to, again, Calamity Warriors, that's my name for it now. You don't get that choice anymore. There's a very linear progression. And if you think you would think that to compensate for the linear progression, they would at least get more detailed with the arcs of the characters. They would like fill in some gaps for you. But they kind of don't, and they stop doing that completely in Act 3 when, spoiler, the future champions come to aid the Calamity champions. So, for me, I thought that, to kind of go back to the original point, I felt like the new format just like didn't have the same sort of like gently guided melodrama that the original game had. And so honestly, I kind of missed a lot of the weird plot inconsistencies because I was too focused on like, well, if like there's no more incentive to explore the environment, there's no incentive to see like what Hyrule looked like pre-Calamity and like give you an incentive to replay Breath of the Wild to see what changed. And to make it sadder, honestly, to be like, hey, like, here's that military camp that was destroyed. Well, it was bustling before, and all the people really liked Link. They made him eat rocks because he's a funny kid. Like, you know, that I think is what got me is the format no longer served the story, and it was just like, I don't know, it kind of took me out of it. Not saying that I didn't have fun, because I love Urbosa and I would die for her, but like, yeah, that was that about sums it up for me in that respect.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you've played Breath of the Wild much more recently than me and probably most other people who played Hyrule Warriors. And I think that's a good point that you bring up about Zelda's characterization, right? Because like I had completely forgotten that Zelda was even like God, Link's just everything that I'm so frustrated about. And when we like you said, when we get Zelda here, it's basically just like, oh, Link, you're so strong and cool, and I just wish I could be like you, the champion with the sword who seals the darkness, and I just have this egg, and I don't know what to do with it. Damn. And like I don't know if that's just because like they didn't expect to have this wild spin-off, and like they had to build a game around that, or I don't know, but like it is interesting to see how like your critiques of this game from a narrative standpoint do like line up with the fact that like you've been a little bit more recently exposed to that, and it is disappointing that they didn't address those things because yeah, I think once you explained it that way, Zelda is a more interesting character when she is like has more character, right? There's a reason for her being frustrated. There's a reason for her not immediately being like, ah, my hero, Link, my yeah, Princess and the Knight, of course. Like that makes her a more interesting character, and when you take that out, it does kind of fall flat. And we could talk about alternate timelines, like maybe this is a timeline where Zelda doesn't have that frustration, but they don't even do that, right? Because they show in the cutscenes that like this whole thing with the egg, whose name is Terrico, forgot to name the egg, but right, like Terrico is like her friend after her mom died, and like and then her dad took Terrico away in order to make her do her homework, and like so like that she is very clearly and explicitly a frustrated young woman in this world, and it does kind of stink because I thought that they did a pretty good job of characterizing folks, and I'm glad that they gave Zelda so much screen time, but like yeah, they did remove a very interesting aspect of her personality from the first game, which is disappointing. Yeah. Also, fuck King Rome.
Yo, fucking Rome!
I don't know how many of our listeners are parents. Probably none. But you shouldn't do this. If you're a parent, you shouldn't be like, your mom has died, so I will take away even more of your companions and make you feel like I'm always disappointed in you. That's what parenting's about. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, like there wasn't nearly enough. Like, I needed just one time Zelda succeeded either in a religious aspect, which is the place she was getting pushed to, or in a technological aspect that was impressive enough that her dad was proud of her, because that would have actually given some impact to his death and then his return. But, I mean, I think speaking of the plot, though, he had to have died there.
Yeah.
No matter the timeline.
He gets blown up by a bajillion guardians. Like, that dude's fucking dead. Just because we didn't see the body doesn't mean he didn't get just, like, completely shish kebabbed.
Right? It was just one of those things. I remember it happening, and then he comes back in the end, and it's supposed to be this, like, triumphant moment. I'm like, I don't like you.
Yeah, I was like, okay, great. I guess you're back. Are you going to be a shitty dad to Zelda? Oh, now you're sorry after your fucking soul went to the Shadow Realm for a bit. Like,
right?
Dude, fuck off. Like,
also, right before he sort of dies, there's a moment where Link, like, almost goes to his side to protect him. I'm like, why would he do that?
Link, you don't like him either. I know you're not very smart, but you know you like Zelda. That's your thing. And he's mean to Zelda, therefore you don't like him, sir.
Yeah, we had plenty of meaningful cuts to you and Impa exchanging which, oh, by the way, Impa fucks. I love Impa so fucking much in this game. I love her in Breath of the Wild. I loved her in this game. That's a ride or die. That is the kind of friend you fucking want. But him and Impa would always just, like, look at each other when King Rome was mean, and I think Impa even said something once, but, like, baby, why would you got Zelda. She's the important one. Go with her. What are you doing?
Yeah, no.
It just made no sense.
You know, I mean, I understand, like, they have to show, like, Link wants to save everyone and be the hero, but, like, bro, just let him go, man. Sometimes you gotta let a bad monarch die. It's fine.
He was a rude little bitch, Link. You gotta let him go.
Yeah.
Impa knew it. The egg knew it. Zelda Loki kind of knew it.
Zelda extremely knew it.
Zelda didn't want to admit it, but she knew it. I did appreciate being able to fight as Zelda, though. That was fun.
Yeah, it is nice when they let you play as the you know, the female character in a Nintendo game or any Japanese game, really. Maybe one day we'll get to play as Kairi in Kingdom Hearts. One day. And in a non-spin-off game.
Kairi gets done so dirty all the time, and but I mean, like, that's the expectation we go in with, right? Because you and I both grew up on, like, Kingdom Hearts. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, I played a lot of Final Fantasy. I think I don't know if we've talked about this game on this podcast quite yet, but I think the reason, like, Xenosaga appeals to me so much, and listeners for the uninitiated, Xenosaga is an early 2000s JRPG. It's a turn-based fighting game that is just a big old allegory for the Bible.
Orlando Bloom is Jesus, is my understanding.
Orlando Bloom is Jesus in the third game, yes. And the main sexy android robot that you fight as is supposed to be Mary Magdalene. Anyway, or Mary, Virgin Mary? One of the Marys. Anyway, so I think the reason I took to that game so much specifically was because you got to play as a girl. And you got to fight as a girl. And arguably, the female characters, with the exception of Xion never really gets that good, but Cosmos and there's a character named Momo are, like, your key fucking players in battles, because Cosmos is your tank and Momo is your healer. So you need those two on the field. But, you know, you play that in Kingdom Hearts and you know, it's a gay fantasy space opera with, like, a compulsory heterosexual element, which is just insane because Kairi's barely a character, which is a shame because I objectively like Kairi. So you go in with the expectation into this game of, like, I don't fucking know what I'm about to get, you know? And I think Zelda being in that white dress for so long annoyed the shit out of me. But you got to fight as her pretty regularly. And you got to fight as Impa, and Impa is dope.
Impa's on some real Naruto shit, like shadow clones and just, like, sweeping the field with her ninjutsu shit. So
I love those
Impa's exciting.
Impa's
yeah.
Did you have, like, a favorite? I'll be honest. I didn't play with anyone after the new set of champions got introduced. After that, it was too many characters. Like, I never used Master Koga. I by the way, Master Koga turns. That's wild.
Sure, whatever.
I never played with anyone after that, but my favorites were, like, my go-tos Link, Urbosa, Impa, and I never got the hang of Rivali, but Link, Urbosa, and Impa were like my three, like, quote unquote mains. Did you have any of the portion of the game that you played? Did you have any like go tos?
Yeah, let's use this to transition to talking about the gameplay because like Link definitely was the number one that I used the most. Second was probably Zelda because I thought that her abilities were like super interesting, like where she would like generate like huge bombs or like big ice blocks everywhere. Like I really liked the way that they made them use the powers from Breath of the Wild and implemented that in her fighting style. I thought that was really fun. And I think like it's probably a toss up between Urbosa and Rivali for me. I don't like Rivali as a person, but I thought that his cool fighting style was interesting because he can like fly up in the sky and like rain arrows down on the big monster hordes, which I thought was neat.
Yeah, I
And then
never got a hang of that.
yeah, it's tricky, but I feel like I mean I didn't use him that much, but you know the couple times I did, it felt good. And then Urbosa, I just like that ability to lightning charge stuff up and just do like massive damage with that. Um,
Yes.
Also, Urbosa's it just extremely hot. So
So hot.
there's that.
Do you know what Rivali's like sweeping move reminds me of every time I did do it?
No, what?
That part in Kingdom Hearts 2 where there's just like a mob of Heartless and you have to just triangle mash
Oh
until
yeah, the
Sephiroth
Thousand
shows
Heartless
up.
battle. Yeah, where just like Sora has the lasers. He's like, yeah, that's such a good point. It's basically the same thing. Um,
Except Sephiroth didn't show up at the end.
Except, yeah, God, if Sephiroth had shown up at the end of Age of Calamity, I would have liked that more. If I'm being honest,
That would have been great. I love that.
if he
Man.
just fell from the sky and impaled Rivali, I would have liked that a lot.
Like he impaled Mario.
Yes.
I
um, incredible. But so like the gameplay, like I know you talked about how Muso games, and like I don't want to. This isn't a criticism of Muso games. Like this is a Muso game. This is what it's supposed to be, which is like sort of you know. I don't want to use button mashy because that seems reductive, but like you're doing the same combos and sort of go cycling through a pattern that you know is gonna defeat these enemies. But like that's the main loop of this game. You have a big horde of little monsters that you do some normal attacks and you're able to wipe out in like 2 or 3 hits. And then you have like at the point where I was in the game, probably every 3 minutes you get a big boss monster, or not a big boss monster, but like a mini boss who you can take out. You have to do some special combos. You have to weaken their little stamina wheel, and then you can do a weak point smash. And that'll take them to half health or 0 health. And you know each character also has their own special super ability that they can use. Um, and like the problem is that like that got kind of repetitive, and that's why I really dropped off at the point because like I got to chapter 4, which was like basically just like okay, keep using Link for a while, and I was like, well, okay, and like I could have probably swapped them out, but also the game has a mechanic where it's like if you can only use like a couple like characters at once, like you have to go back and train them to level them up, which I found kind of frustrating. And I know you could like train them by buying, getting gold and leveling them up, and that I appreciated that. But like, Link at a certain point, Link was my strongest character, and like in order to progress through the game, I just had to use Link to get to mash through all the levels. And I couldn't use the other characters, and I found that very frustrating because at a certain point, I love Link very much, but there's only once you get the Master Sword, there's no reason to get another weapon for Link, and it's like, well, I guess I'm just going to do the same combos over and over again, and that really kind of took me out of it, and I was pretty disappointed about that, but like I do feel like they could have mixed it up a little bit more, but yeah, that main loop of just like mowing dudes down and then fighting a boss, like, I think it could have been done better, so.
There was nothing more stressful than getting that shield pentagon down to the last bit of the last little slice, and then it goes away.
Yeah, it's like, well, shit, now I have to do a whole nother series of combos.
So stressful.
It was really, really a pain in the butt. There was a bit where they broke it up with the mechs, and I did like the mechs to a certain degree, but again, it was basically just like, hey, I was also playing a handheld on my Switch, so it's like, hey, here's a bunch of little grainy pixels that are just sort of jumping up and down, just button mash and just wipe them out in their thousands, and like I I wrote a whole book with a big elephant mech in it, and I really like that idea of like, a big elephant that shoots lasers out of its trunk. But like, at a certain point you have to think like, man, I'm just doing little genocides every time I step into one of these. And I mean, we tried to watch Gundam, and that's the whole point of Gundam, but it was just like, it was a little much.
Yeah, I didn't really love the mix, and I mean, I played on a pretty like decently sized television, and I still couldn't see what the fuck I was doing. And but I don't really like those kind of like genocide-y big kill count missions anyway. That's just like a taste thing for me, so I just didn't enjoy it. But yeah, I thought this is another thing where I was just I guess didn't really love the choice of format for this, because Breath of the Wild is not an easy game. It's not.
No, Breath of the Wild's
like,
hard.
Yeah, it's not like Demon Souls or Dark Souls hard. Like, it's not like Bloodborne, where I was watching John Wolfe play the first 3 levels, and or stages rather. I did those areas so often that I still remembered where every single enemy was, and I could still like feel my fingers going for the timing on how to get them without getting hit. Like, that's what those are, grinders, right? And the thing about them as grinders is they're not actually as punitive as everybody makes them sound, because the mechanics of Bloodborne and Dark Souls by extension, the more you die, the more you level up, and you can just go back until you're strong enough to plow through, even if like you're not like an expert. Like the Zelda speedrunners who go and get Calamity Ganon in their underwear kind of thing.
Yeah, you should all watch Breath of the Wild speedruns. Just, they're so fucking funny, because
so
Link
funny.
is just flying through the air into the castle, buck-ass nude, just like in
stick.
20 minutes. defeats Calamity Ganon in like 5 minutes. It's awesome.
Fucking incredible. But like, it was just kind of dissatisfying to mow down all those bokoblins and Lizalfos, because I worked so hard to do it in the other game. So it just kind of made it feel like, it kind of made, I don't know, like, yeah, if you take a nap for 100 years, your muscles are going to deteriorate a little bit, you're going to get a little weak, but it does make it feel like Link is, instead of being like different, it makes him feel like he woke up weaker in like a very significant way. And it takes the scale of the story into a weird place, because then you wonder, like, okay, well, if Link woke up at full power, could he have just taken down Ganon by himself? So it's just, it threw the scale of the conflict off kilter a little bit for me. And yeah, the combos got a little bit repetitive too. Link was my strongest character by far, and I thought, before I knew how many characters we were gonna get, I had thought that the whole conceit was you have to rotate your characters enough, and whoever's under-leveled at the end dies.
Oh, like a Mass Effect 2 sort of thing.
Yes.
That would have been interesting. Oh,
but then we got a billion characters. But yeah. I'm not complaining about getting Hestu, though, because every time Hestu shook those little maracas, my soul fucking buoyed to a level it's never been before. But, yeah, it's just like, as soon as we got the next 4 champions, and then Master Koga, and then the monk, and then the fairies, and then Hestu, I was like,
Okay, yeah, let's talk about those, because I didn't even get to those yet, and I was, halfway through the game.
Yeah, they kick in Act 3, post the beginning of Calamity.
Yeah, so I think this is a very bad choice. Listen, I love Sidon. I love that little bit where Mipha gets to meet Sidon, and because like we meet Sidon at the beginning of the game, he's just so little. He's a little baby boy.
Little.
He's adorable.
His little name card says "Winning Smile."
Oh,
Angel.
He's cute as fuck. We love him. And then like Big Boy Sidon shows up. 70% of the way through the game. It's like, okay. I mean, weird. Chekhov. I don't know that that's the gun you want to use for this one, but okay, Anton, whatever. But like, it's fucking weird, right? Firstly, firstly, it's too many characters, right? We had, we start with, I thought we had about 6 characters, and I was like, that's a lot, but fine. You can't do, okay, the champions again, and then also the fairies, and then also, I was reading through the IGN list that you sent me because I was like, okay, wow, I didn't realize. Yeah, we have Sidon and Yunobo and Teba and Riju. Okay, those are and Master Koga's playable. That's interesting. And King Rome comes back for some fucking reason. And okay, and the fairies are playable and Terraco's playable and Calamity Ganon's playable. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. So the replayability of this game, right, hinges. First of all, Act 3 is the longest act in the world because it just the pacing and momentum of the game gets interrupted by the fact that you now need to train up 4 characters that you did not have before, right? So now everything halts and you have to learn how to use these 4 characters. I never fucking did that. I went and kicked ass as Mipha. I love that bitch and her little water spear and being able to surge people out on land. It's great. She's fantastic. Mipha in this game got redeemed for me. I was not her biggest fan in Breath of the Wild because she was just like there to fawn over Link. No, Mipha was here to do business and stab. She was a great time to play. And I thought one of her best integrations was when she was the only one that could heal the Hylian captains who got hurt. So you had to go around as Mipha specifically to heal Hylian captains. So I was like, see, neat. Love that. But the replayability of this game hinges on the fact that Link has to fight evil Terraco and he destroys that robot. He beats the shit. I felt bad doing it. And the whole time I couldn't do anything but think, Zelda is watching her childhood friend get destroyed by her knight. Like, absolutely fucking wrecked. When they cut to that little egg in the... he is... like, straight up... PlayStation 5 tossed out of a 5th story window, smashed.
He looks like the cube of junk from Monsters, Inc. Like, he's just so fucking busted.
He looks like that printer that gets thrown out the window in what's that fucking sitcom? But what a great reference. Yeah, Office Space. Couldn't even fucking think of the thing. And the whole conceit is that after you beat the Calamity, because spoiler alert, you do beat the fucking Calamity, which I'm like, what? Okay. The replayability hinges on going back, rebeating levels, and piecing Terraco back together. But I'm like, why would I do that? I don't have any incentive to do that because Terraco isn't real to me. He's like a construct to make this game happen. Like, I never got attached to Terraco. Also, no matter how many sad cutscenes we got with him.
Also, like, so I was watching the cutscene videos because I didn't play it. It just seemed like Terraco just turned evil at the end. Like, is that what happened?
No. So he gets possessed by Calamity Ganon because...
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so there's 2 timelines, right? So...
Leyla has got her fingers up and she's trying to explain how time works to me right now.
Okay, well, I don't like time travel. So, okay, so in timeline that leads to Breath of the Wild, what this game supposes is that emo motherfucker, we're gonna call him 303 because I don't remember his name. 303 has evil Terraco, and because he had taken it originally from Hyrule Castle, which doesn't make sense because Terraco time travels from Hyrule Castle, but okay. And he has evil Terraco, and that is the catalyst for the Calamity. So that again doesn't make sense because after the Calamity happens, Terraco from Zelda's drawer is what travels back in time to then parallel to his evil self prevent the Calamity. So what happens is that evil Terraco gets smashed up and 303 is like, fuck you, I serve the Calamity, overtakes good Terraco, and then good Terraco turns into Calamity Ganon, kills 303, which was very unsatisfying because I wanted to kill him, and then you have to beat the shit out of him, and then he turns into Calamity Ganon.
Okay, I mean, I want to say that helped me understand it, but it actually made me understand it less. Um,
What my digital puppet show didn't.
I mean, no, the puppet show made it much better and easier to digest, but I don't understand the chaos fate man. Like, was he just there?
Yeah.
Like he didn't seem very. I didn't like him as a villain. He was just kind of like, haha, and everything's working exactly to my plan, and then I'm gonna die at the end because of my hubris. Like, very Disney
He
villain.
felt. I mean, I'm glad you said that because you know what I'm about to say. He felt like one too many Xemnases.
Yeah.
You know? He felt like that copy of Xemnas you don't want to deal with anymore because you're tired of seeing his goddamn face, except he's the only one we saw.
Wait, no, there's only one Xemnas. So, are you talking about Xehanort? Are you talking about young Xehanort? Are you talking about Ansem Seeker of Darkness?
Have I ever told you that my secret talent is explaining Kingdom Hearts in quantities of Jesse McCartney?
No, you haven't.
I couldn't do it now because I'm rusty, but it gets into like multiplication tables. It's really good.
Okay, so you have basic Jesse McCartney, and his name is Roxas. Anyway.
The square root of Jesse McCartney is Sora.
Oh God, I hope we keep doing this podcast when a new Kingdom Hearts game comes out because we have to talk about Kingdom Hearts.
I mean, we could just replay it.
We could. Oh boy, don't tempt me.
Aaron, you could take half the franchise. I could.
Listen, I could play this 25-hour game. I don't know that I can handle playing half of the Kingdom Hearts games.
No, we should talk about this because I would be very interested in talking
we'll
about
table this discussion. Yeah. Sorry, listeners. We're gonna.
I'm not. We are who we are. You come here for the friendship, and that's what that was.
Okay, excellent, great. We're gonna. Oh fuck.
Yeah. Anyway, he was like one too many. You know what I mean? He just felt like a spare to me. It was.
Yeah.
This game was trying to do so much, and like I appreciate that, but the beauty of Breath in the Wild is its simplicity, right? And this was just an assault on my senses and like just a billion bokoblins.
Yeah. I think you're right. The whole genre change did do it a disservice. Like it is such a fundamentally different game than Breath of the Wild, which is like the textbook standard for an open world game for the next 10 years. And like this is just like kind of a pretty basic paint by numbers, kill a lot of guys game, and like they're just so different, and it is unfortunate that like they didn't really quite stick the landing. And I don't think Nintendo even directly developed this game, right? I think it was mostly Koei Tecmo, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, I know that two teams worked really closely together, but it's definitely. I mean, the main team is busy with Breath of the Wild too, which.
Oh yeah, that's what they're doing. Yeah.
Man, if I'm hyped for Godzilla vs. Kong, then I'm fucking vibrating for Breath of the Wild too.
Oh yeah, no. That'll be exciting. Probably not this year, but
I don't know. It's the 35th anniversary, so we'll see.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Christmas release.
Maybe Christmas. I don't know. COVID has wrecked everything, but we'll see. We'll hold out hope. So we brought this up earlier. I mean, I just said that like I couldn't get through this game. And Leyla graciously said that we should maybe talk about like how we're feeling about games at this moment. And the thing is that like I'm personally having a little bit of trouble getting into games. Like the thing that I did instead of play this game was play Hades this week. A game that we talked about like 10 episodes ago in October. But like I finally got my cross save to work on my Switch, and I started playing that. And I mean, we could, if you want to listen to me talk about Hades, just go listen to our Hades episode. But like, this is true of Greece. This is true of like that one Akira Toriyama Dragon Quest game. Like, I've just hit a point for the last couple of months where I've been like trying new games and like sticking with them for like 10 hours or less, and then just bouncing. And like I made it through Greece because Greece is really quick, but like I don't know, I'm just not. I can't really get into things anymore, and it's very disappointing. And maybe that's because like Hades is familiar and comfortable, and like it gives me specific objectives. Maybe that's the reason that was working for me this week. But like, I don't know. How are you feeling about games? Because you know, I'm a little bit out of sorts.
Yeah, I'm in a similar vein, I think. I mean, I think I mentioned when we did our Scorpio season episode, because I think that's when I talked about Breath of the Wild. This was like the first time in a while I'd like really gotten into a game. The closest I'd gotten was Assassin's Creed Odyssey a couple of years ago. But even that got kind of ruined for me when I was gonna call them Ubisoft released some DLCs that do that thing where they make you have a baby. And
you know, that normal thing that game companies do.
Just ever since Fallout did it, I've just been like, why?
Wait, hold on. Did Fallout? What?
Fallout 4.
Fallout 4 made you have a baby? Like,
that's
are you talking
the whole
about
premise.
Okay, are you talking? I thought there was a separate DLC where it's like, well, Sean was bad, so I'm gonna have another kid.
Oh no! I meant Sean.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I understand the datification of games. I don't even explicitly hate the datification of games. I think it's fine. I really like familial relationships.
It's fine.
It's all fine. It is vastly different to have your male character father a child than your female character mother a child. Those are two completely different things. Because with one, you're dealing with bodily autonomy. Now, obviously, you know, this is just mainly dealing with the fact that most games still exist within a gender binary, so like I'm speaking very generally, but it's hard to get into anything right now because things are hard and bad, and it is easier not to learn new things. I think that's what it comes down to for me. I just learning new mechanics, and I get really invested into things, so like I don't have that well of emotional energy to get invested into something like I got invested into Dragon Age 2, you know what I mean? Like, I still go, but that's what I'm back in right now. I'm not playing it, but by God, am I thinking about it 24/7? You know, it's hard to do things right now.
Side note, exhausting. Seer has been asking about Dragon Age, and I told her that she should either start with 2 or Origins. What would you say? Origin? Okay, yeah. Because she was like, oh, I don't want to play an old game. And I was like, yeah, but you don't want to play the new ones either.
I would say, for listeners, this is my general recommendation. I think that you start with Origins, and if at least you don't start with Origins, there's a function, there's like a tapestry function on Bioware's website where you can like go and like read about the choices you make in Origins. At least do that and then go and start with 2 and make sure you pick everything. The most important choices you can make are like who ends up ruling the country of Ferelden. But I mean that's the well I'm going back to because it's a found family narrative that I really love, despite all of its like production flaws that are very famously expounded in a Kotaku article. You know, it's things are hard, man.
Things are hard. I didn't have GERD at this point last year, so I don't know. Things are breaking down for me personally. So I don't know. It's a lot, and also Hades has a very compelling loop. So, did you know that Skelly can die in Hades?
No, holy shit! What?
You can kill Skelly. It's fucked up.
No, I don't want to kill Skelly. He's weird and Bostonian.
The spoiler is that Skelly is actually playing a trick on you. He tells you have to get your sword up to like your aspect of Zagreus to like the max level, and he's like, "You gotta kill me, man. It's the only way. I gotta be set free. I've been here too long." And then Zagreus just does that. He's like, "Goodbye, Skelly. I'll miss you." And it like has a little cutscene like when you kill a boss, like it's like Skelly vanquished, and he explodes and drops into a puddle of blood. And then, like, 5 seconds later, he comes back. And then Zagreus is like, hey, what the fuck, man? And Skelly's like, ha, I got you. And then Zagreus is like, well, I'm never going to fucking kill you again because that was mean and hurt my feelings. And he's like, wait, no, I'm sorry. It's wild, and Hades is so good.
Did you see that thing? I don't know if this is real or not. I think it's real. Did you see that thing where if you start a new game and you quit 68 times in a row, on the 69th you go... You find Dionysus and he just says like nice cock or something. It's
Is
the
that
sex
true?
number.
There's no way that's true. No
I
way.
It is. Listen, the likelihood of quitting 68 times is wild. So honestly, there's also I know. So you recommended Crusader Kings in Crusader Kings 3 in one of the newsletters, and y'all, there's a Monster Factory out.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what Monster Factory is, it's the McElroys, Justin and Griffin try to make the ugliest possible creature in a video game. Setting some of their skills to 69 makes them nice. Like it's
Stupid.
I love shit like that. I think it's fine to be perpetually 12.
It's a lot. Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on things?
Dylan, man, this was a real Layla heavy episode. I got a lot off my chest.
Well, I'm glad because I needed you to carry the bulk of the burden here. So I appreciated that. Um, Layla, where can people find you on the internet?
I am at LEYLSES. I was going to say at gmail.com on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. That's where you can find me. I am currently taking classes and working, so I'm not really doing all that much, but I will eventually return to my webcomic, and I need to write an essay like tomorrow. It will honestly probably be about this, and also Yashahime, the Inuyasha sequel, and how, much like making Breath of the Wild a Muso game is weird, making Inuyasha a shonen is equally weird.
Very excited to hear your thoughts on that. You can find me on Twitter at AaronSXL. You can follow the other podcasts I do at MBMBF and me. Yesterday, Michael put up a video where we rounded out the last Narnia movie, the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which was very bad, but also both Michael and Josh made me laugh so hard during that one because we don't talk about the plot very much because the plot is very thin, but there's just some peripheral facts that really, really got me deep. So if you have any interest in Christian media or making fun of it, please check that out. Our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. You can find more of their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Layla, do you want to hit us with a closer?
Forgive me. A deep slumber beckons, and even I cannot refuse.